Take off. Hello there. Yes, we are Geeks assembled, and we have gathered here once again, and we're going to talk a bit about the Big Bang Theory, and it's the episode, The Skywalker Incursion. So let's start off with Beef Dad, who I think is quite a fan of this show. Go ahead, Beef Dad. What do you make of this episode?
Oh, I'm a massive fan of this show. Basically, they're on a trip to a university to present a paper that they've written together. And Leonard and Sheldon sort of take a detour to the Skywalker Ranch, which is owned by George Lucas, hoping to get in and see him. And the unusual thing about this is, of course, for once, the person that they're looking for doesn't actually appear, which I found a bit of a disappointment because, when they went to see Stan Lee, you saw Stan Lee, and they get many, many, many big names just to appear in cameos playing themselves on this. But the wonderful, the magical thing for me was Wolowitz and his wife planning on moving into his mother's house, because this takes place just after his mother dies, and she's going around putting labels on things that they're going to get rid of, and one of these things is Wolowitz's TARDIS. He has a full-size TARDIS, and she wants to get rid of it. He wants to hang on to it, and it ends up with them both appointing champions to play ping pong to find out who's going to have the final say over what happens to the TARDIS. Absolutely magical. But while that's all going on, of course, Sheldon is trying to get into the Skywalker Ranch. They get through the main gate, but then they're held back because they haven't got an appointment. And Sheldon makes a break for it and gets tasered in the process. And they're just very, very funny that they all work so incredibly well together. I love every minute of every single episode, and I've watched everything up to the end of series 9. Series 10 will come out on DVD, and as soon as it does, I shall buy it.
Lee, enlighten me. Where is the comedy in this?
Well, right, let's make this one thing clear. I'm not a very, very big fan of American comedy. Sorry, guys, but I think you all know that. There's only a few series what I'm okay with. And for me, I've never watched any of these episodes before. This was close your eyes, look at that title, I'll pick that title out, we'll watch this episode, and which I did. I didn't even know there was any Doctor Who references in the episode. I thought it'd be all Star Wars stuff, to be honest. There is humour and comedy in this, because I did find myself giggling away as when Sheldon got. You didn't see it happen, but he got tasered off screen, which I was, giggling away to myself. And when the guy turned around and when they was in the room, and he said, "Oh yeah, they caught me making out with a Wookiee." Them thoughts went into my head. Why would you make out with a Wookiee? Yeah, there is a lot of geeky, nerdy references in this program. This is what the program's about, isn't it? Being a nerd, growing up a nerd, loving your comics, loving your TV shows. I was quite surprised I did like this. I don't know why I haven't sat down and watched a series of this before. It's always been on, but I've never got out my way to sit down and watch one. So this was just picked out a random. Let's talk about the Big Bang Theory because we was desperate at the time to think of something to come, to watch. But there is comedy in it, Alid. I know you're not so keen on this, but there is comedy, and if it's reference to sci-fi, Star Wars, whatever, all the better in my books, because that's what we hear about, our geekiness. And as Peter said, they all work well together. The characters. I mean, I don't know the woman, is it Amy with the glasses? The one who looks a bit not as beautiful as the other two lasses, shall we say? That at the end where she got the TARDIS, trying to get Sheldon into her bedroom, and he comes running in dressed up as Tom Baker, and then running out for. That was just so funny. And she sat there on the bench and I haven't thought this one through, have I? But yeah, there is comedy in it. It made me laugh. What can I say?
Let's go over to Brian. I have to say, there was one bit that did make me laugh when he was in the car, and he said something about a relationship with a dog. And I'm sorry, I had to laugh about that, Brian. Do you not remember that scene? No. Maybe I made it up. No, go on, Brian.
It's my turn?
Yeah. What did you think about this episode of The Big Bang Theory?
No. What can I say about The Big Bang Theory? Honestly, I didn't like it. Because again, like I was saying before we even started these casts, I'm not really particularly a fan of the show. And even before we did the started the cast here, just wasn't a fan. But from watching this episode, pretty much still not a big fan of the show. Just think it odd, weird, and quite frankly, not really that funny in my opinion. Just I'm sure like most of you like the story, everything. Pretty much all the stories with it. Pretty much maybe who are the fans of the show like all the stories and everything. But me, just I don't really like it or enjoy this type of show, or even this episode for that matter. I mean, it just seem. I would mostly just say not funny, at least in my opinion. So
You didn't even like when the TARDIS appeared, did it? Fighting over the TARDIS.
I mean, I thought.
I mean, you being a Whovian and all like that, you'd think, oh wow, look, TARDIS, great.
Did you stay awake that long, Brian?
I mean, seeing the TARDIS within the episode looked very cool, but honestly, it didn't really look that great. It looked kind of fake.
The TARDIS isn't real, Brian.
I know, but it looks so much better on Doctor Who, though.
I know. That's not good.
Or even at like Doctor Who conventions, it looks so much better than it does on the show. At least on this episode of Big Bang Theory.
It's real.
It looks like a kind of like a paper mache.
Like Father Christmas in it, Susan.
To me, it looked like a kind of a paper mache TARDIS. It looked really bad, at least to me.
Brian, have you ever seen paper mache?
Yes.
It doesn't look anything like paper mache.
Yes, it does.
No, paper mache is not. God, that was. It's all crumpled pieces of paper. Is that?
The paint on it looked very, very damaged and
blue.
Weird. It was just
blue. It looked very blue.
No, not even blue. Like very dark.
Having an argument.
I know.
Did you watch?
That isn't at all.
I hated it. I hated it. It didn't even look like the TARDIS.
Is that what you don't like about this episode, or do you just not like the comedy at all?
I don't like the show at all.
No.
I mean, I just
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
I just watched the episode because that was what was recommended, and for the TV part of this, like for the TV episode of this cast. So honestly, I don't really like it at all. Don't really like the show, and I don't think it's my type of show or comedy series. So
Yep. Well, let's go to Alex and Susan. Do you prefer this better than Brian, or even worse than Brian?
Yes, yes, I do. But I will admit that maybe the show has gone a little too long. The first 3 seasons, originally, I did not like the show. A friend of mine, who is another nerd and geek, recommended it. I slowly started to change. I did enjoy the references. I did enjoy the in jokes, but it depends on how good it is. I mean, jokes are all written differently, and there's many different types of humor. So if you can have a in joke or a reference, that's fine. Which just does Star Wars and Doctor Who, they kind of put it together, or in the same episode. Yes, I did bump into people that they didn't like the jokes. They thought they could be funnier. I think it's okay. The first 3 or 4 seasons, they're more focused on the school and how weird they all are. But again, it depends on what you mean by a nerd or a geek or an expert. Obviously, those aren't bad things, because if you connect all three, you could be an expert, actually. And I also bumped into a lot of people and my mother did as well, in 1978, that they were working for, computer companies before everybody knew what it was. So I think because it's a TV show and they only have 20 minutes and they can't reference everything because it might go over some people's heads, like the equations and the calculations and things like that, they have to keep it light so we can, relate to the audience. Because if you get too technical, you lose the audience. Now, Mayim Bialik, who used to be Blossom, she has degrees in real life. That's the one that dresses kind of frumpy, who is Sheldon's girlfriend, excuse me. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, she was Blossom in the 90s. Yeah, she was.
I thought I recognized her.
Of course, Kaylee, the blonde, was in Charmed in the last 2 years of that show. So, yeah, you actually have some famous people. And like Beef Dad said, you have Stephen Hawking, who's been in a few episodes. You've had James Earl Jones, even pranking Carrie Fisher before she passed away. Sheldon and James Earl Jones rang the doorbell of Carrie Fisher and ran away. And they had Leonard Nimoy as Spock. So they've had a lot of, right, and Toy Spock. So yeah, they've had a lot of appearances from people. So yeah, it is pretty funny that they're mentioning the old joke about it's bigger on the inside than the outside and all that. The ping pong, that might have been a little silly, a little bit overdone, but it's a good episode. And like I said, I mean, I haven't bumped into too many people that are afraid of admitting to be a fan of TV shows or movies or sports teams. It's just that not many people go on and on and on about it. And in Massachusetts, it's really quite okay and acceptable to be a fan of the sports teams here. Whether that makes one a nerd or a geek, I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Okay, the thing that I'll keep this really short. I enjoy the road trip bit about it. I love that they tried to get into Skywalker Ranch, and I love that they did the gate rush thing and that sort of. That's a funny like trope and stuff, and like the ping pong was great. The fact that all they could do was serve and nobody could get it back to the other person, that's hilarious. And yeah, so there's a couple really cute bits in every single second of it. So you just gotta kind of roll with it. I loved the fact that the TARDIS was represented and stuff, and so and that is kind of our I guess our show, because we're geeks and we're Geeks Assembled, and that's basically singing our song or whatever. So I enjoyed it, and I'm glad we finally got to it, and I think we should do more episodes based on the title. I like how Lee did that. Thanks.
And so to me, well, it reminds me of a children's program. And I think it probably is meant to be that. Personally, a children's program, because it reminds me of My Parents Are Aliens, which used to be on BBC way back in the day. And it reminds me a bit of that. But I've got one question. There's a lot of dialogue in this, a lot of talking, but where are the jokes? There's a lot of laughing, but I'm sitting there thinking, what are they laughing at? Was that, where was the funny bit? What have I missed something? I didn't get any of it. It's absolutely diabolical.
It's the American sense of humor. Sorry. Just blame the.
It wasn't funny at all. All this talk and nothing was funny.
Alid, so you didn't get the play that funky music white boy?
It was
thing?
It was honestly, you got that guy who's trying to be Mr. Bean.
Who?
That Sheridan, is it? And he's just trying to be Mr. Bean. I think it's so.
I didn't see. I didn't see that.
There is a lot of that in it, but he's also trying to be, Mr. Spock, and he's trying to be Stephen Hawking, and he's trying to be all these other people, right?
I just found it the most unfunniest thing I've
He's
ever.
also a scientific genius. He has a genius quotient. I mean, the thing. He's eccentric. It's eccentricity that you have to look at.
Well,
you miss out on a lot of his eccentricity in this episode because it doesn't show his house and the sofa with his spot that no one else is allowed to sit in. The man is a scientific marvel, but his interactions with other people are what makes it funny.
Well, yeah, the first 4 seasons, it definitely was like that. As one of the characters said, Penny, one time they're in the apartment laundromat, and Penny starts talking to Sheldon, who also does like rapping on your door 5 times while calling your name in rapid beat. Right. At one point, Penny talks to Sheldon and says, "Oh my God, you're gonna jibber jabber about the jibber jabber," So it's kind of that type of jokes,
I have a question, Alex. Is this a case of the show's gone on too long, and at this point it's no longer funny? But if we'd watched an earlier episode, maybe I would have enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, again, Aled, that's the other question too, because obviously, I've seen a lot of talking, I don't know if it's online, of geeks saying that the show isn't geeky enough because they all have girlfriends now. So I don't know if they mean geek as in sort of autistic, well, I hate to say it, but sort of socially inept and awkward, or do they mean a geek as in very intelligent, like a nerd, or do they, you know what I mean? So I think that they might have a problem trying to balance expert, nerd, geek, and all the other levels.
Or it could be that the American humor to Alid doesn't translate as well as UK humor.
Right.
Well, the timing was all off. If they were meant to be jokes, the time I didn't think it was funny. I just
I mean,
it was just words.
Well, I mean, again, if you're talking about, of course, it's not as funny as Mr. Bean. Of course, it's not as funny as Faulty Towers. So in that respect, right? So in that respect, the British is better, actually. But again, it's also a lot of in references. So I don't know, if you demand a high quality of your humor, this is probably not the show for you, because there's a lot of in references and there's a lot of in jokes and there's a lot of, like you say, play that funky music, white boy, which might be funny if it was excellently timed, but it's not a real joke. It's like a pop culture
They're not
reference.
jokes. There's
Yeah.
no jokes in this.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, exactly.
right. So if you were like referencing like the Village People, that might be funny. It's funny to me because I was around when that group was around. But anybody from now, they might not get any of the joke at all.
It's like he stood in his pants and he just looked stupid. I said, "What the hell was all that? That was just silly."
Who was stood in the pants?
At the beginning, have I watched another episode?
Yeah, I think you have. You watched the one before that episode.
Have I?
Yes.
So,
Shame on you, Alan. You watched another episode.
I know I
So you
didn't.
don't-
I watched the one that Lee posted in the chat.
No, you watched another episode besides this one.
He posted it in the chat.
no, I posted the link to season 8, and I says all you have to do is press episode 19.
Oh.
So you went to episode
I
18
thought
by
I knew what
mistake.
you were talking about. I just thought,
Or
well,
was
I'm
that
actually
episode 1? I don't know.
thinking maybe I
We've
better.
been, so we've been talking about going to the George Lucas Ranch, and you didn't see that. We've been talking about the
Yeah,
ping pong thing and the TARDIS. So you didn't, when we was talking about the TARDIS, didn't you even see the TARDIS?
No, the TARDIS wasn't in that episode.
Yes, it was.
Not the one he watched, Brian.
It was, huh?
Uh,
Well,
yeah,
why didn't you say something when we was talking about it?
I mean, I was just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying the TARDIS was in it, and he missed the one. Now you put up the.
Because I watched the wrong episode. I clicked the link, and it just took me to that episode, so I watched that episode.
So you've watched episode 1.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I was making sure on the name.
Yeah, but when did you read where I says press episode 19?
No, I just scrolled up and clicked on it earlier.
Yeah.
You
But why didn't you speak up earlier when everybody was talking about the TARDIS and the ping pong and the?
Because I wasn't that much concentrating on it. To be, I was messaging you all the time at the same time because I was so bored. I was so bored during it.
Well, you know what to do in the future. You know what to do in the future. Always read and listen to what Lee says and press the right button.
That's ended up in a few troubled times, isn't it?
Follow instructions, young Padawan.
You see what you do? You click the wrong episode, and you don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, I know the show you're talking about is a load of crap.
Oh, it's not though, but it is kind of American humor, but it isn't crap. Okay,
I
do admit that Alex is right. British humor wins every single time, but honest to goodness, man, it's not a.
So no wonder when I said about the car and the dog, and you didn't know what I was talking about.
But there was a car, and there. I mean, it was a road trip story.
Yeah, Susan's right. Yeah, there was a road trip in a car, but there wasn't a dog or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were talking about,
I
but
had no idea what I was talking about.
well, sometimes I just think that you may just talk a load of rubbish.
And she goes to this interview and
Yeah, because we're jibber jabbering about the jibber jabber.
oh dear.
So we said all that, and you're thinking, I don't remember that.
And that's why I'm talking about stuff, and you don't know what I'm talking about. That's what I said about the dog and that in the interview.
I never understand what you talk about anyway.
Yeah.
There we go.
So,
Does you lot, I'm just thinking, well, let these lot carry on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, does anyone want to do either a a quick description of the characters in the show, or just rate it and that's it?
No, we'll rate it. They're all bad. We'll rate it.
Oh, ouch.
So let's go with Beef Dad first for final say and thoughts.
Well, I love this series. I've watched it from the very beginning. This 9.5. It makes me laugh.
All right, Beef
And
Dad, can I ask you? Go ahead.
It's very geeky, geeky and nerdy, and you have to. The thing is, I think it helps if you've watched from the very beginning, because you then see how all the relationships work, and it's very, very funny, very, very clever.
Ali has watched it from the beginning.
No, I mean the very beginning.
Yeah. So, Beef Dad, we just had a little mini debate here about American versus British. What do you like about the American show? Is it the relationships or the in-jokes, or you just like it the way it's written, or?
I love the way it's written. Some marvelous scientific references. It can be very, very, very funny, very, very clever. And if it wasn't good, Stephen Hawking wouldn't bother to appear in it.
Yeah, that's true.
But he loves it. He thinks it's funny. It makes him laugh, and he never misses an episode. And if it's good enough for him, it's definitely good enough for me.
And let's go to Susan and Alex.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I like it. I liked it a lot. I like all the nerdiness in it, and it's delightful. And so here's Alex.
Well, as far as the episode, yeah, it is a little pop culture reference heavy. As I said, originally I wasn't a fan on the show. It grew on me. You have Sheldon, who is sort of eccentric, autistic, but at the same point, he has a brilliant mind, but he doesn't have the social skills. But the funny thing is, he is the anchor of the show because he ends up being friends with everybody and bringing everybody together. So in terms of Beef Dad's right, when you see the relationships, it's a little bit of Odd Couple. It's a little bit of Geek when they reference the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they all have the timing to say, turtle power in perfect unison. So that did strike me as kind of funny. It may not be the best joke, of course, but again, it's the pop culture references, because remember too, you're dealing with 4 geeky guys, and 2 of them were really socially inept at the beginning of the series, and they've changed and they've grown. Then you have 3 girls, and 1 was very, very geeky. And so all 7 of them, and then they added 3 more characters. So you end up with almost 10 characters to watch in the show. And it is true. When you watch it, it does make sense. This wasn't the best episode in terms of writing. If you want it as far as pop culture heavy, then it's probably, in the top 10. As far as the individual story, I agree with Alan. It wasn't that funny. But there are other episodes where it is funny. They've had episodes about Sheldon and Amy and their relationship, and they're both they're both very geeky and very scientific, and then they're trying to have a romantic relationship. You have Penny and Leonard and their relationship. That's actually a lot of the show is those 2. Then you have the Jewish guy living with his mother that eventually found a girlfriend and got married to her. And so it doesn't look like it at first glance, but as you watch the show, you see all these relationships.
And let's go to Lee and Hull.
Well, Alex, you can't agree with Alex because
I didn't watch the right episode.
You didn't watch that episode. For me,
it's all right to agree with me, though.
For me, this is the first time sitting down and watching this series, and I watched the right episode.
Oh,
Yeah,
look at
I
me.
could-
I watched the right episode.
I can understand. Yeah, as I say, with the American humour, British humour, sometimes it doesn't travel well. But I did like all the geeky stuff, the references, the Star Wars references, the Doctor Who references. It did, I like all that. So for a first timer watching this, I'm going to give it an 8. 8 paper mache TARDISes out of 10.
Talking about paper mache TARDISes, Brian, what do you have to say about this episode?
Voila!
What about the one I watched?
Oh, forget the one you watch, you bad boy. You missed the episode. You should be banned from this cast. Get out. But anyway, I would probably have to say about this episode, not good. At least for my opinion, because like I said before, I don't really like the Big Bang Theory. Not that we's not. Don't really like it at all. Mostly, so I wouldn't. Mostly including this episode because just not really my brand of taste of a TV show. Mostly a comedy TV show, really. So
Ice cream.
So mostly, if I were to rate this episode,
Can I have a flake in it, please?
well, other than
before.
seeing the TARDIS, since we see the TARDIS within this episode, I would probably give a little bit of higher rating what I'm gonna give, which is
No, you can't do that. You got to be honest.
which is 3% out of 10.
3% out of 10. Okay. Yes, thank you for that, Brian. Now to me. Well, how long was it again? About 21 minutes?
Yeah, 21 minutes. Yeah, 21 minutes.
Yeah, 21 minutes. That's
Yeah, but can you rate the episode that we watched, please?
The episode that you watched is about the same as the episode that I watched. There was no humour. It was dull. It was boring. I'd rather gouge my eyes out instead of watching it again. I think I'd rather pour salt and vinegar into a wound or be trapped in a desert with no food or drink.
Leave off the vinegar, man.
Yes. So I think I'm going to give it minus 3,000.
How would you even know? You didn't even see the damn episode.
I watched my episode. It was rubbish. It absolutely was no humour. There's no joke. Just sitting there with canned laughter. And it was clear, if it was a real audience, they were paid to laugh. Or it was just canned laughter from YouTube throwing in. They've gone on YouTube and they thought, YouTube downloader, canned laughter, slotted it in, there you go. Anyway, on that note, I'd like to thank everybody here for joining me. I'd like to thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button below. Not hit that subscribe, but hit that subscribe button. Comment below. Look after yourself. Take care. And we will see you next time.
Yes. Bye.